It's only the first day of Mobile World Congress, but I think it's probably fair to say that Huawei's foldable Mate X has already stolen the show. It's by far one of the most impressive foldables we've seen to date, and it just might be the one to beat. We just spent a little bit of time with the new device. Unfortunately, we couldn't actually touch it still, but we've gotten a better sense of what it brings to the table, so let's take a closer look. Right off the top, this screen is absolutely beautiful for the most part. It's been incredibly helpful for scrolling through websites and even watching our previous MWC videos on YouTube, but it's not exactly perfect, at least in its current state. When the phone is completely unfolded and the screen is locked in place, you can still see these ripples right where the phone creases. Huawei says that that shouldn't be the case for much longer, and there are ways to mitigate that in production, but at this point it's kind of hard to imagine how you could get a perfectly flat display when it's inherently bendable like that. The other big question about the Mate X is durability. When you've got a screen running around the outside of the entire device, how durable is this thing actually going to be? Huawei says you're going to be able to live your life with it no problem, and it's sticking to its own internal guidelines for life-proofing. That said, because there's no glass outside the display, this is a flexible screen after all, you have to wonder how well this thing is going to handle being sat on, because you know that's going to happen at some point, and probably by me. We did get to spend a little more time with the cameras. We're told they're basically on par with what we've seen in the Mate 20, although they might not be the exact same configuration. And again, pulling up photos on this expansive display is actually really cool. The best part of the camera, as my colleague Shilin has pointed out in the past, is that with a slice of screen under that camera, you, the subject, can always tell exactly what you're going to look like when the photo is taken. We got to try that today, and it's honestly kind of a game changer. I always look terrible in photos, and I'm sure a lot of you probably deal with the same problem frequently, and this kind of puts an end to it actually very elegantly. The thing is, for a foldable device like this, getting a foldable screen right is kind of the easy part. We've seen a number of companies do it already. The bigger challenge these companies face is trying to cook up a hinge, a mechanism that allows them to build a fully cohesive device without a gap, which Huawei has done here. We did not get to touch this thing, as I've said, but based off of reports we've heard from MWC so far, the hinge is actually still quite stiff in its current form. Again, that's to be expected. This is, after all, pre-production hardware, but after spending time with head of global marketing Clement Wong, he was just flipping the thing open and shutting it with very little concern for how much force he put into it. It does seem stable so far, if a little stiff, and I think that's a problem that a lot of foldable manufacturers are going to have to tackle in the future. Getting the screen right might not be a huge deal, but the mechanics of getting that fold right and getting it to feel comfortable and elegant, that's going to be really where we see these companies differentiate from each other. It's also been really nice to just kind of get a sense of how Huawei is handling some of the particulars here. Google's plans do involve foldables in the future, but we don't really know how Android is going to adapt to these displays so far. We have gotten a taste of some of the smaller tidbits though. So for example, when you're looking at the Mate X's main screen, you flip the device over, voila, that screen becomes your primary display. Ultimately, we haven't spent enough time with the Huawei Mate X to really draw some conclusions, and we're really looking forward to just being able to pick the thing up and play around with it. That's obviously for a few reasons. One, the phone itself isn't done yet, and two, I think even in terms of software, Huawei is pretty sure that it's not up to the level that it needs to be to really resonate with people like you and me. That's fair, and we actually don't have that much longer to wait. Huawei has said that it's targeting a mid-year launch, but we just literally heard in there that they're looking at a launch window sometime in June, largely dependent on when carriers light up their 5G network. So stay tuned for that and a whole lot more here at MWC 2019.